Okay, listen up. Aha, Nade, Joy Team, Ogmog, all Tang, okay, find out right now. What did I just say?
You just ask everybody to pick up their samurai swords and shave your butt while listening to this episode of the Retro Rewind podcast.
Reflux capacitor fluxing. Crew to stations. Scanning for rush hour 2, 2001. Prepare to rewind in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Rewinders and new listeners, to the Retro Rewind podcast, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I'm your captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz, and I'm joined by your XO and mine, Paul, the Super Bill Master Interrupter Powers.
Just remember, Captain, in Hong Kong, I'm Michael Jackson. You're Toto.
That's Tito. Toto's what we had for dinner last night. But also for this discussion of the film Rush Hour 2, we welcome back aboard Ship's chef, Brother Nate Milton. Hey, Brother Nate.
I'm doing this episode for Nelson Mandela and how he had to spend 27 years locked up. So this episode of Retro Rewind podcast is dedicated to the great Nelson Mandela. Hallelujah. What's going on, boys?
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Brother Nate. And we have a new guest to the show. We like to welcome aboard for the first time, creator of the Coffee and RPGs YouTube channel, Solomon K. Welcome, Solomon.
Emotional damage.
What?
You heard it.
All righty. Well, now that you have a quick flyby of who we are, though, do you really know who we are? Paul, can you give us a quick overview of production specs for Rush Hour 2?
All right. Rush Hour 4, Face Off 2.
What are you
the three
talking about?
conspiracy on the sequels of both Rush Hour and Face Off. It came out in 2015 with Lee Brian Hung as Detective Lee and Sean Puff Daddy Combs as Detective Lee Carter. It was
Paul.
written by yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Rush Hour Dose 2.
Yeah, this is the sequel. Oh, the movie.
Yeah,
Oh,
the movie, Paul.
Hold on. Okay. Rush Hour 2 was released August 2nd, in the year 2001, runs an hour and 30 minutes, and is rated PG-13. It was directed by Brett Ratner and written by Ross LaManna and Jeff Nathanson, with lead stars being Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. Shocker.
What?
The music was composed by Lalo Schifrin. Sure, we'll go with that. Are you
Sure,
ready
yeah.
for the box office trivia?
I'm ready. Brother Nate and Solomon, are you ready?
Let's go.
Yes.
And everyone in chat, feel free to join in as well. Go for it, Paul.
Okay, Rush Hour 2 was made for about $90 million and earned about $350 million at the box office.
Wow.
Given this and the fact that it was released theatrically in 1991, how high in the box office do you think it ranks among the movies released in 1991?
2001, Paul.
2001.
Yeah, you
that-
said 1991.
Sorry, that was my notes from the previous. All right, how it was released in 2001.
Yes.
How high in the box office do you think it ranks
All right.
among the movies released in 2001?
All right, let's
Go
start
for the
with
top 50.
Brother Nate. Where in the top 50 do you think this ranks?
You know, I'm going to go a little ambitious here for our guys, Carter and Lee, and I'm going to say this is a top 10. So I'll say number 9.
Number 9. Okay. Solomon, how about yourself?
I think it didn't. Now, from what I could remember, and which could be totally wrong, I think domestically it didn't do well, but worldwide, that's where the real money came in. And so I'd argue it'd probably be top 5, actually.
Okay, so are you gonna say 5?
Yeah. No, 3. Let's go with
3. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So just below Fellowship of the Ring and Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone. All right, that's pretty bold.
Wow, you know your 2001 box office.
For me, I'm gonna go right pretty much between you guys. I'm gonna say 6 for my guess, because it's a very popular movie. I feel like being the sequel to popular one. So in chat we have Let's see. Cellcast guesses 15. Dale guesses 7. Stacy guesses 10. I think that was all the guesses. Paul, where did it end up in the top 50?
Well, it did better than Rush Hour, but not break the top 10. It comes in at number 12.
12. Okay.
really?
All right. That's close.
It's respectable.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
Stacy won that.
So Stacy was the closest. Good job, Stacy. But no, you know what? Maybe there's maybe
There's a
I want to
transition,
say
you can
thank
say?
you for those factoids, Paul. And let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind meld or subsequent roundtable discussion, which we'll get into once Alice has located our target film.
Alert, alert. Approaching target. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
Now, get ready
Chinese bamboo is very strong.
for a second rush.
You smell good.
Chris Tucker, Jackie Chan, Rush Hour 2,
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Nobody understand the words that are coming out of your mouth.
a Brett Ratner film, rated PG-13, now playing.
Indeed, now playing. But how did that play into our memories of the film Rush Hour 2? Well, let's get into our memory mind meld synopsis of this movie. East meets West again as Tucker and Lee are in China on vacation, but get pulled into an international mystery. They wisecrack their way through a massage parlor and karaoke bar and wind up running naked down the streets until they finally reach the Red Dragon laundering funny money in Vegas, where Carter marshals his arts against Hu Lee and wins by a fluke. I guess Hu Lee won't be in Rush Hour 3. Who is Hu Lee? I don't remember that. In fact, our memories must have been deceptive. The rest of that seemed actually pretty accurate. But based on those memories, as flawed, they're so flawed as they were, what reign did they lead you to predict before you watched this film? Classic, nostalgic, or tragic? Let's start with Brother Nate. So you'd seen this movie before, but before your rewatch, what was your prediction for how you would rate it?
So before my rewatch, I predicted nostalgic because I remember liking it, but I felt like it would be a step below Rush Hour, the original.
Yeah,
So
I
and I
totally
rated
get
that
that.
a classic. So I figured this would be nostalgic before the rewatch this week.
Okay, awesome. Solomon, how about you? What was your prediction?
Pretty much the same. Like I totally forgot the plot and everything about this movie.
Okay.
So
You did watch this again, though, right?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay. Sometimes that's
for the most
happened
part.
before.
For the most part.
Okay.
Oh boy, here we go.
Okay, but
You watched the
nostalgic
trailer.
was
Absolutely.
nostalgic was your prediction, though. You said.
Yeah.
All right, middle of the road. Paul, how about you? What was your prediction for this?
Nostalgic as well.
Nostalgic as well. I was the only one that was like, just remember this so fondly that I actually predicted classic for Rush Hour 2. I remember watching this one a lot, along with Rush Hour with like Paul when we were in college. So my prediction was classic. And it'll be interesting to see if those predictions come true. But first, let's get into our discussion of the things we liked most about Rush Hour 2. Let's spin up our
Best bets.
All right, the top things we like about Rush Hour 2. And let's start with Brother Nate. What's one thing you liked about this film?
There's so many things in this film. Once I did the rewatch this week, that I'm like, oh, I remember that. I remember that. That was in this movie because, like Solomon's saying, I think all three of the Rush Hour films kind of
Bleed
run together. The further we get away from them.
Yes.
And so I'm like, oh yeah, this is the one where Cheeto shows up randomly. That's I think the first thing I enjoyed about this is the fight scenes, the choreography, the creativity. It still holds up, even 21 years later.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I still can't believe Jackie Chan gets through that little window for in the casino thing. I'm like, how? How'd you do that? That's amazing.
Lays off the
awesome.
cheeseburgers. That's how.
Wow. Oh my gosh, Paul. So that's your advice to me? If I want to squeeze through that, I need to lay off the cheeseburgers.
Yeah,
Got
but
it.
that's
You
also
have to
my
switch to a kosher diet.
yeah. There you
yeah.
go.
Gefilte
With the-
fish.
Yeah, but that's also my is the
really?
fight scenes. Yeah,
Oh, okay, cool.
Jackie Chan movies are known for their fight scenes, and this is another one I think that utilizes the props around them in these scenes, and it feels very real and believable for that.
Yeah.
Not as real as like, hey, there's no blood or people aren't like limping everywhere, but you know, it's real enough for movies.
Exactly. Solomon, did the choreography choreography something that made your like list, or was there something else that really struck your fancy?
I think, well, one of the things that I mentioned was, the fight scene like at the spa was really cool. I thought that was probably the best one. But for me, it was the jokes. Because there's no way you could make that film today in this politically correct climate.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
And in my personal opinion, I think that's a travesty. They did a lot of digs at Asians. I enjoyed it. And those of you who are listening to this, I'm Asian, obviously.
What? Hold on.
I know.
Hold on. You're Asian?
But the thing is, it's like they're making fun of both Asians and Americans, right? And so depending on which way you lean, you might only hear one side, but when in reality they're making fun of everybody. And I really wish, that's what I really appreciate about the early 2000s and the 90s, is that there was no filter. And I get it. Some jokes can be a little too far and be mean spirited, but in the Rush Hour series, they're all fun and games.
Yeah. It feels like it is, because I think there's this. I'm almost wanting to get into my classic maker. I'll say this though: there is so much you can. I don't know if Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker are friends to this day off screen, but as far as just watching them in the outtakes, they seem so friendly to each other, and they just had fun working together. So I think that really resonates. And like you said, Solomon, there's no mean spiritedness to the jokes. They're just for fun, and they come out of a good place from both of them. So yeah, I totally see that. And speaking of the comedic elements of this and what I just spoke to in their dynamic, I just love the outtakes. I love it when movies have outtakes at the end during the credits. I think it's just such a fun thing, especially for comedies, just to see all the bloopers and all the jokes that didn't quite land, or the things that didn't work. I really enjoyed that aspect of the film. Let's see. What else was enjoyable for you, Paul? What's something else that you liked?
Speaking of the humor, just Chris Tucker being his younger self. I mean, the later movies, he's calmed down a bit, but this is going back to where, he has a big mouth that he uses it, and there's a lot of humor in there. So just him as in this role, he just knocks it out of the park.
Absolutely. I could totally see that. Let's see. Solomon, what's something else you enjoyed? If it was another character or something else?
Yeah, it kind of ties into what Paul said, because there was that scene where he like Carter has to fight Hugh Lee. I'm already forgetting her name. And he's like,
"Oh, is that Zhang Ziyi's character from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?"
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that.
And Leah's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got this. And he still has that youthfulness. Youthfulness. Yeah. But at the same time, you see a character development from the first movie and the second movie, where he's still goofy, but a little bit more confident compared to the first one, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. It gets, for me, sorry to just walk over what you're saying, but are you sort of getting at that it's almost like his bravado, which he has a ton of in the first movie, has sort of given way to an actual inner confidence that's not so, it's like, yes, I can handle this. I'm not just all show.
Exactly. Okay. And I think that's probably one of the criticisms for the trilogy, is that you still have the same character, Chris being Chris and Jackie Chan being Jackie Chan. But if you really look at it, there's a lot of character development there that you might have missed.
Yeah, I could see that. Let's see, what really developed for you in this sequel movie for Brother Nate that you enjoyed?
So, I've got a lot of thoughts about Chan and Tucker, but I'll save that for a little bit later.
Okay.
But I think another thing that I really liked about Rush Hour 2 this time around is just I had forgotten how many of these side characters I actually enjoyed. Like Ricky Tan. Like Ricky Tan. And here's the thing, like the only thing I remembered from this movie, like well, there are 2-3 things, but like, I remember Hooli with the bomb at the end of the movie. I remembered, the fight at the massage parlor. And I vividly remember, 20 years later, Carter smashing Ricky Tan's computer. Just a random 3-second moment in this movie. And I always remembered it because the disrespect, Solomon, that Carter showed, taking this man's computer with the DVD player and smashing it and stomping on it, calling him Little Ricky. Like Ricky Tan, we had Isabella, I believe, is the Secret Service agent. I liked her in the movie. Hooli, the rich white man who we knew was bad because we followed Carter's theory of investigation.
What's his name?
Yes, Stephen Ryan.
Was it Raines? No, Stephen Raines.
Stephen Raines.
Yeah. That's it.
So so like I like the little side characters, even like the chief in Hong Kong. That was sorry, Lee, we got to arrest you, and sorry, we got to send Carter back to America. These side characters, I like them a lot, even though I was missing our girl from the first Rush Hour. The bomb expert. Like I wish she was in this
she's
movie.
in L.A.
Well, they go back to LA for a little bit.
Though.
Did she die?
No, I think she's still alive.
No, she was alive at the end of the movie.
Sorry, I might be thinking of somebody else.
Yeah. No, I
mean
agree.
the actress, not that.
I would have liked to see more return. Apparently, they're like the chief of police in the LAPD that was in the first movie. He was going to come back, and there was a couple of people that were going to come back for this. And I think they filmed it if IMDb is to be trusted. But those scenes just got cut or something like that.
Oh, boo!
Yeah, exactly. Boo.
Release
indeed.
the chief cut.
Right. Exactly. But I totally get that, Brother Nate. Something
she died
that's
in 2014. Sorry.
She did?
Yeah, the actress.
What's her name?
That's
Elizabeth Pena.
Oh yeah.
Yes, she was so good.
Man. Something that doesn't have to do with really anything of what you guys have said actually made my like list was the pacing. Well, no, the pacing of this film was so good. There wasn't ever like a moment where I'm like, okay, can we just get on to the next thing? Or I'm like looking at my phone or like, I'm just like, this is sort of dumb. It just had me like, there was either a joke at the right moment or a fight scene at the right moment or a story element at the right moment or a mystery it was just really just paced phenomenally. I feel like the same is the case for the first one in most of the ways. So I thought the pacing was fantastic. But what was the most fantastic things about Rush Hour 2? Let's get into our classic makers. And I'm going to go with Brother Nate first. What was your favorite thing?
Yes. So my classic maker for Rush Hour 2 is the same thing that it was for Rush Hour 1. And spoiler alert, will probably be the same thing for Rush Hour 3. And that's Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Rush Hour 2 is a solid movie. But I feel like if you put two lesser actors in there that didn't have that same chemistry, we wouldn't remember it as fondly.
Exactly.
And there's so many great little moments, like when they're arguing with each other or, when they're both spying on Isabella and she's got a Snoopy tattoo. Let me see, Lee.
I like Snoopy.
Yeah, I like Snoopy.
I like Snoopy too.
The moment where like they're great together, but they're also great individually. You mentioned Chris Tucker. The scene at the casino where he's like, I want black people and white people and even Chinese people to be able to gamble together. Like, that was great. Yeah. The two scenes I think are Jackie's best are, when he thinks Carter's dead and they play I'll Be Missing You in the car and there's a little emotion. But then also when spoiler alert, Ricky Tan didn't die, everybody. And he's got the gun to Ricky Tan at the end of the movie. And he has a choice to make. And it's like, there's some actual emotional beats in this movie. It's not just all laughs. It's not just all action. But I think the classic maker for me is easily Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, because without them, this movie isn't as good.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's pretty much my classic maker as well, Brother Nate, Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. I love Chris Tucker's jubilance in this and Jackie Chan's sweetness. I feel like they just go together so well. They're just this was
Like peanut butter and jelly.
like peanut butter and jelly, like sweet and sour. Like take your like pepperoni and pineapple on a pizza. Am I right, guys? Am I right?
I like pineapple.
Yes.
Yeah,
I do too.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
We're
I knew
good
I
here.
liked you guys. But it's just so they work together so well, and just it really exponentially raises the fun of these movies. This one, no exception. Let's go to Solomon next. What's your favorite thing about Rush Hour 2?
Yeah, again, sorry to sound like a broken record player, but I think Nate and you guys nailed it. I think I heard or read somewhere they actually was initially going to cast Martin Lawrence originally.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Like Chris Tucker wasn't
Interesting.
the first person.
Yeah,
And
he
I know
didn't
Martin-
have the box office numbers at the time. That,
Right, exactly.
yeah.
But Martin Lawrence was a really huge comedian back then.
Yeah.
And they were gonna cast him instead, but for whatever reason, I don't know why they went with they didn't go with Martin Lawrence. I mean, I like Martin Lawrence, but thank goodness like he wasn't cast and they casted Tucker instead, because again,
It could have worked. It probably would have been good, but I think Martin and thinking about Martin at that time when Martin was doing a lot of the action movies and trying
like Bad Boys, and
he was
stuff
trying to
like
be
that
serious.
back
I don't know if Martin would have allowed himself to be as silly as Chris did in these movies.
Good point.
I agree.
Yeah,
I completely agree. Like Martin Lawrence, I mean, he could have, like you said, Nate, but it just wouldn't have been the same.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Paul, are you gonna just make the quadrifecta, or
No,
there's something else you're
I'm going to
making?
disagree with you guys.
Oh
by
man.
agreeing with what you all said earlier, and that's the humor. I thought the humor was
okay.
the best part of this film.
Yeah. Okay. Even more. I'm curious, Paul. Did you like the humor even more than the first one? If
You know what surprised me the most is I thought it held up. It was on par, equal to the lines that Tucker had and Lee. I was surprised on how it held up when comparing both the humor in both movies. I thought they were pretty similar.
I felt like it had a good balance of callbacks to the original and all, like no one can understand the words coming out of your mouth. That whole thing, and also just new comedic bits.
Yeah. You ever heard of Popeyes?
Oh my goodness.
The Don Cheadle scene. Yes. Like the Don Cheadle scene still always like the Kung Fu Kenny scene.
good.
He's like, Tiger Style? Yes, I studied under Master Jing.
Oh yeah,
It's like Jing from Beijing? Nah, Freddie Jing. Oh, his brother, okay.
yeah. And that kind of reinforces what you said earlier, Nate, about the side characters that you love about.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. That another interesting side. Yeah.
Yes.
I want to just we were talking about bringing up side characters. I really enjoyed Jeremy Piven, sort of a very flamboyant guy at Vegas. Like, and one of the people put the whole quote in our memories, so I won't do it here. But just I loved his dynamic with them both, trying to address them. Well, awesome guys. It sounds like there's so much we liked about this, but maybe there's some things we don't like, which we'll get into once I realize there's something else I liked. I'm sorry, guys. I forgot. I seem to run into this. I don't know why I can't get into my head that I always seem to have one more like, and I just have to share that. And that would be Geek Devotions. Geek Devotions is a collaboration of devoted geeks that are devoted to letting people know that they are loved. They produce a weekly geek culture-infused devotional, their podcast Com Talk, and written articles all designed to encourage and challenge people in the geek community, bridging the gap between their faith and their fandom, and their geekdoms. Find all their content at geekdevotions.com.
That sounds more like a commercial than a like. But what does that have to do with Rush Hour 2?
I mean, I like that commercial.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Brother Nate. But, I mean, Jackie Chan is devoted to solving his father's last case. He might even be he might be a little geeky about it too, because he likes Snoopy. That's something.
Wow.
Fine, Paul. How about some trivia about Rush Hour 2? I suppose you like that better.
Yes.
Okay, then.
Yes, let's do trivia about Rush Hour 2, not Geek Devotions.
Or Rush Hour 4.
Sure.
Oh my
That's a sequel.
Did you all realize that the counterfeit dollar bills used in the movie say, "In dog we trust"? But during shooting, some
Toto.
some extras walked off the set with some of the fake cash
Nice.
and eventually ended up in a few casinos in Las Vegas.
What?
The situation went so out of control that production was briefly shut down when the FBI subjected the props department to an investigation to determine whether or not they violated the Counterfeit Deterrence Act of 1992. So my question to you guys is, why are you using counterfeit money? No. Do you have any fun or interesting Vegas or gambling stories? Let's start with you, Paul.
Did I already tell you on the show about the time that I went to Vegas and got stuck in an elevator?
I don't think so. I don't recall it, at least. Refresh our memory.
No, that's about as interesting as it gets. We instead of staying on the strip, we wanted to save a little money and go off. So it's like a little more rundown hotel. We were going up the elevator, and I forget why, but I was jumping up and down as it was going up, and all of a sudden it stuck. We were only stuck for like maybe 2 minutes or something.
Oh, okay.
But
That must have been scary.
no, well, yeah, because it's kind of run down, and you're like, and the air is kind of musty, and you're like, I know I'm not gonna die. Like, they'll get the fire department in a couple hours, but it's just not fun.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Next time you tell that story, you should say, and I had a full bladder. It was like,
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Let's go with Brother Nate next. Do you have any fun Vegas or gambling stories?
So I've never really been to Vegas. Like I've passed through Vegas on trips.
Sure. Yeah.
But I do have a gambling story from the days of my youth. So this would have been mid 90s. It was around the Tyson Holyfield 2 fight.
Oh, nice.
And this is the one where I believe this is the ear biting fight.
Okay. I was about to ask. Yes.
And so, I I think I might have been in middle school, maybe a freshman in high school, somewhere around there. And so, we're making like bets at the lunchroom table. And here's the thing. Here's a lesson for all the gamblers out there that might be listening to the Retro Rewind podcast. Always know your limits. Don't bet more than you can afford to cover. I didn't know that lesson back in this time.
Oh,
so
that's how you learn.
I ended up betting like 10 different people. $5 to $10, and so on the fight, because everybody's like, oh, there's no way, like, Tyson's gonna come back, he's gonna beat Holyfield. I'm from Atlanta, I was born in Atlanta, so Holyfield's from Atlanta, so I was like, no, Holyfield's gonna win. So I'm making these $5 to $10 bets with 10 different people, and so like the total that I owed if Holyfield lost would have been like almost $200, which I didn't have at the time. Like, now that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but as a middle schooler / high schooler,
that's a lot.
That's some cash. So I made all these bets that I wasn't able to cover, Solomon. And so, again, I did not pray on the fight, but God was looking out for me, because Tyson bit Holyfield's ear and was DQ'd. So by the technical rule of the law, Holyfield won the fight. So I didn't have to owe all of these people money.
So how much money did you make off that?
So I made like about $250.
Nice.
Yes. And so, but I would have owed. I would have been in trouble, because some of these guys were guys on the football team with me. Some of these guys were, guys that might be hanging out with Ricky Tan, if you get my drift. Some dangerous people. I didn't owe anybody any money. I didn't get in trouble. So that's my big gambling story.
Brother Nate, I thought this was your origin story, how you got trapped into the mafia.
I smashed his laptop, and he's like, well, now you got to work and pay it off.
Bro, that's like $1,000 in today's money, basically.
Wow.
Yes. Wow. With inflation, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, that's awesome, Brother Nate. So the moral is, gamble big, it'll pay off. Solomon, how about for you?
Yeah, there was one time I spent $1,000 on loot boxes. That counts, right?
Whoa, yeah, it does.
Wow.
That's insane.
Oh my God.
I won't say which game, but yeah, it was pretty bad.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Did you get anything good at least?
Yeah, just cosmetics.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, all right. That's gambling for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Great trivia, Francisco.
Thank you, Paul.
And now that we've had some trivial fun, let's find out what memories you, our awesome rewinders, had about Rush Hour 2.
All right. Alex Ortiz says, You got the mochaccino face, the big broad shoulders. Let's put a dead animal on you. Buttercream. What size is the waistline? Let's go in. Also, Jackie Chan fitting through that tiny money slot is still pretty crazy to think about, for sure.
Yep. Dustin Warford says, all he wanted was some Mushu. The Mushu.
Wardale White says, remember thinking, I like Snoopy too. I remember having as much fun with the sequel as I did the original. I liked how they flipped the location, set in Hong Kong. Chan and Tucker were great together. Rosalind Sanchez was a very attractive addition to the cast. Again, I had fun with it.
Celeste Morris says, war.
Yeah.
What is it good for? Since she goes on to say, I absolutely love the movie franchise. It was so fun. The VHS that my friend had some funny bloopers. We watched it so often that we used to be able to quote them.
Nice. Philip Hurd says, just saw this and the first one recently for the first time. Oh, they were silly and fun. I particularly appreciate how it's not politically correct. Is this you, Solomon?
Yep.
Jackie
100%.
Jackie Chan is a marvel to watch. Check out Police Story if you have HBO Max. I've never seen Police Story. Have any of you guys?
Yeah, and the sequels. Yeah. It's much like Jackie Chan's movies at that time.
Okay.
Yeah. Mikkel Withers says, I remember it happened. I hope that's better than I don't remember.
Stanley Wright says, I think I remember Chris Tucker tried too hard in this one. All right.
Uh-oh. The Dapper Man says, no wonder they're mad. Bare naked bottoms.
Okay. Aaron Huey says, have fun. Okay, thank you.
And John Harju says, nothing, because I haven't seen any of them. Chris Tucker wants to be Eddie Murphy in the worst way, and Jackie Chan in English-speaking movies is almost unwatchable.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Wow.
I mean, I feel like John's memories sort of lead us into the things we didn't like about Rush Hour 2. So let's get our
Worst woes.
worst woes going. So yeah, let's talk about the things we didn't like about Rush Hour 2. I'm sure there were some things. I'll go ahead and kick us off by saying, and this isn't, I guess this isn't so fair. This is like really like not fair to Rush Hour 2. So that's why I'm starting with it. I don't like that Jackie and Isabella aren't a couple in the third Rush Hour.
That's
like,
fair.
why set up this romance here if it's not going to continue? I hate that.
Right.
So.
That's fair.
So that's really more of a problem with Rush Hour 3, but still, I'll say it for a dislike here. Let's go with Brother Nate next. What's one thing you didn't like about this one?
I don't have too many dislikes about this film, surprisingly. You know, I was kind of surprised on the rewatch. I think, though, that, and I will speak to the piece of feedback that you had in terms of Chris Tucker trying to be like a wannabe Eddie Murphy. Like, I don't think that's the case. I think there are some scenes, though, where it's a little much. But I'll take those scenes where he's a little much. Like, I'm thinking about the one where they're, like, tied up in the truck.
Oh, yes.
He's like that. That's like, okay, guys, that's cute, but I'll take those scenes that are kind of a little to get the casino table scene every time, because I think that was fantastic. You know, and the scene at the massage parlor, like I think that was fantastic.
Exactly.
So I think there's a bit of, I guess you could say, overacting. I wouldn't even go that far, but I mean, come on, this is Rush Hour 2.
Yeah,
you knew what you were signing up for.
Exactly.
Even with Chris Tucker, I would prefer him overacting than underacting.
Yes. And clearly he was trying to be Michael Jackson, if anyone. Jeez.
Oh, yeah. With the head
Solomon, let's go.
Come on, Francisco. Come on.
Solomon, let's go to you next. What's something you that didn't jam on for you?
It's not Rush Hour 2 specifically. It's just the trilogy in general. Like as Nate pointed out earlier, all three movies just kind of blend in. It's just a giant blur. I can't. If I'm thinking of a scene, I can't remember if it's from 1, 2, or 3. Because like all three movies are unique, but also at the same time they're not. You know, like I can't really remember. So you have 3 great movies of just awesome action scenes and jokes, but it's really hard to differentiate what movie they came from. So,
well, I guess that means you just need to watch each one more. Solomon.
Fair enough. Whereas like other trilogies, I could tell which scene like came from which movie, like Lord of the
I get
Rings.
that.
You know, but with Rush Hour, I just can't do that for some reason. Maybe that's more about me than the trilogy. I don't know.
Well, that sounds like a like to me for a trilogy. A lot of trilogies have that one or two where you're like, oh, that one wasn't as good. Where you can point it out. That sounds like a consistent thread.
But I can see what Solomon's saying too. It's like you want to have some distinctiveness, like, oh yeah, Rush Hour 2, that's the one where this happened. I really like that element of it, as opposed to which one did that happen in?
The Ewoks can't save the universe in every trilogy.
Wow. Paul, what could the Ewoks save for Rush Hour 2?
There were a couple of things that a couple scenes in the movie that didn't make sense, the logic, the flow. For example, in the massage that Chris Tucker's character just wanted a massage. Like, okay, there's the bad guy over there, and he's like, no man, I just want a massage. And then Lee's like, okay, I'm gonna go for backup. And all Chris Tucker would have to do was like, okay, you call for backup, I'll watch him and see if he goes anywhere. He didn't have to get up and go, or he could say, no, go get him. I got your back if there's any trouble. Either way, he could have enjoyed his massage. The whole thing, I know they wanted him. They had to get him up there to ruin his laptop.
Yes.
But the way they got about it just didn't make sense logically for that character.
Yeah, I could see that. And in that same vein, one other thing the next thing I didn't like was I felt like, and I know it's one of those things that I understand why they did it for the movie, is mainly in the massage parlor part, but also Isabella later on. I feel like there's a lot of female skin that they didn't have to dwell on as much. I get they need to set up. Yes, it's very much like for Carter, especially, who wants his Mushu. It's like, yes, let me look at this buffet of women, essentially. But I felt like they just went on and on and on with it a lot. So I felt like that
it was directed by Brett Ratner.
Well, okay, fine. This is my dislike.
Oh, okay.
I can have my dislikes, Paul.
I'm not. Oh, I'm just saying I'm agreeing with you, kind of.
Oh, okay.
Keyword kinda.
Yeah.
So that was another dislike I had. Let's go back to Solomon. What's something else you don't like?
I can't think of anything else, to be honest with you. It's just
all right. It's just so good, this movie. Well, hopefully you have your worst dislike soon. Let's go to Brother Nate next.
Yeah, the only other thing I have that's a dislike is my Tragic Maker.
Oh, okay, fine.
Let me. I have an extra one I can throw in there.
Paul, go for it.
You got
another scene that didn't make sense is Isabella's in the casino at the end of the movie. He said, hey, see that big metal container going through the door over there? We think the plates are in there.
Yeah.
So, you got to get it before it goes through the door, and it shows it about to go through the door. 5 minutes later, after a big fight, Jackie Chan gets to the door, and it's still going through that door. It's like, where's the momentum in this? If these plates were that secretive, it would already been through the door. Like, come on.
Yeah, and wait, so were they even in there? Because I feel like they're up in the safe because Reigns went and got it out of a safe. So okay.
It was all misdirection. It kind of jumped around in there. It didn't make sense. So
yeah, it's almost just a way to get Jackie in the back to have a fight scene in the back of the casino.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't trust Isabella. Whose side is she on?
Whose side is she on? I don't know.
She probably didn't even go to New York. That's why they're not together in the third movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Somewhere else. Gosh.
Took a plane to Jersey.
Bella.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Trying to find Snoopy. Funny thing is they wanted to get a Snoopy tattoo, but they couldn't get the rights. They had the rights to talk about it, but not show it. Weird.
Oh, wait. So they didn't even show a tattoo? I don't remember.
They had a
like
tattoo
a nose or something?
that they tried to make it look like Snoopy, but without it getting trouble with the copyrights.
Okay, got it. I get it. Okay, I see. All right. Well, then, guys, I guess that leaves our Tragic Makers, the things we hid.
Wait, no, I have more.
Then
that was a bonus one.
All right, give me another one.
This was almost my Tragic Maker.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay.
But you have Ernie Reyes Jr. in here.
Why are you taking my Tragic Maker, Paul?
Get away, Francisco.
Yeah. Why? So actually, I know the reason why, because I actually had the opportunity to ask Ernie Reyes Jr. himself why he didn't get to do this. But yeah, for the longest time, me and Paul were always thinking You have Ernie there. Why is Ernie there just running away? That's it. That's all he is in the movie.
I've enjoyed Ernie since he was like 5 years old, and he was like a black belt at that time, and he's
like
in
Red
TV
Sonja.
shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Wasn't Sidekicks? Was that his?
Yeah, Sidekicks, and he's in Turtles, and yeah,
exactly. So it's like, why have him in this and he's not doing any martial arts? So
this isn't even really a cameo. Like, come on,
Right?
it's so frustrating.
so I actually asked him because his dad started the Martial Arts Association I used to train at, and he was just in town visiting. And so I asked him about this, and he said this was like almost like 7 years ago when I asked this, so I may be not quite remembering quite right, but it's something to the effect of they got on the phone with the stage and said, hey, we're doing Rush Hour 2. We're interested in you coming out and doing a fight scene with Jackie Chan. Would you like to do that? And he's like, oh, Jackie Chan? Yes, I'd love to do that. And so he was all excited about going out. Then they got to the day of filming. Like I think they figured out what they were going to do or something, or they're trying to get to that point, and they kept delaying and delaying and delaying. And so they just essentially got to this point where they didn't have time to film this fight scene they had planned. And so he is disappointed about it. But it's just it just didn't work out for.
He needs to come back as a good guy, not a bad guy.
Yes, for Rush Hour 4. I like.
Yes,
another disappointment from Brett Ratner. Thank you.
Right. Oh goodness. So that was my tragic maker. Thanks for stepping on it there, Paul. But thanks for letting me.
I introduced it for you.
Exactly.
Set it up and you spiked it.
You did. Let's hear what really was spiky for you, Brother Nate. What did you hate most about this film?
So now that I know, first of all, that Francisco has studied Tiger Style, and out there with Don Cheadle, but
exactly,
also like now that I know about the Ernie Reyes thing, like that actually is probably my personal tragic maker. But I'll give you the one that I had thought of. And it's not so much for me specifically, but I can see it for other people.
Oh, okay.
And it goes to something Solomon touched on earlier. And that's some of the humor, right? Like if you're looking at it through 2021 lenses, you know, maybe it could be a bit much for some people.
Yeah.
But as you said, Francisco, I think it was all of the jokes in this movie are out of a spirit of love. And like we just making jokes. We having fun, y'all. It's not anything mean or spiteful or hateful to it. So like I don't think there's an issue with it, but I could understand if somebody who's coming in, like maybe the listener that you said, maybe watch this for the first time. This week. Like maybe with 2022 ears and eyes, they're like, oh, that caught me by surprise. It's you have to kind of look at these films as a product of their time. And so that's like it's a tragic maker, but it's kind of a tragic maker in name only,
by proxy,
sort of, kind of. Yes, by proxy.
Yeah. Totally get that. Then that leaves, Solomon and Paul. But let's go with Solomon next. What's your tragic maker, Solomon?
I'll just end it with this. It's kind of tragic, but not really. But maybe if you squint a little bit, because no.
Wow.
Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker running butt naked on the highway.
I thought it was funny.
I mean, for some people, that might be the classic maker.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wasn't really talking about that being too much skin, but I can see where you're going with that, Solomon. Yeah.
I'm not really serious about that, but I thought.
People wanted to see all that mochaccino sauce.
Especially when you have two races with when they have a contrast, if you know what I mean.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Okay, I'll stop it there.
It's like chocolate and vanilla swirl running down the freeway.
Apparently, again, IMDb trivia, take it with a grain of salt, but apparently they actually didn't stop, like close down the highway or anything. It was like real traffic that they stopped and let them out in.
Well, that's halfway true. That
halfway true. Okay.
Because, according to Brett Ratner in the commentary, they had a couple of their own cars slowing down behind them so that the traffic wouldn't hit them. But yeah, they didn't close down they only had like 3 or 4 cars out there that were theirs.
Wow,
but,
that's crazy.
Yeah, like they didn't have the permits or something, right?
Right.
So,
Well, it's in China, so I don't know what the
that's awesome.
Yeah, geez. But now that we've what am I thinking? Paul,
Yeah.
I need to hear your
my tragic maker.
most
Okay.
hated thing for Rush Hour 2.
So you asked me earlier about the humor, and I said it was on par. So I was wondering, what about this film there's something about this film that I don't like it as much as the first. And what is that? And after a while of contemplating, what I think it is that in Rush Hour 2, they do a role reversal with Jackie
Fish
Chan
out
and
of
Chris
water
Tucker
type thing?
character.
Yeah, it's
right.
different.
Yeah. So that Chris Tucker is in Hong Kong, and that's Lee's home base. But it's not the position, it's the characters. Because in the first one, we're used to Chris Tucker being the big mouth. He's the liar. He's the one who's like making things up. And Jackie Chan is quiet, and he comes out on top, and he appears much smarter than Tucker. In this, Jackie Chan's character is the liar, and he's the one who's trying to go around, and while Chris Tucker's character is on vacation. And he doesn't come across as the smarter one. That comedy dynamic has shifted in a way that I don't think is equal or as good as the first one. And I think that tone overall is what makes it not as good as the first.
Okay. I could see that. For me, if we're going off like comparing it to the first one, the thing that I feel like the whole kidnapping thing works a bit better as a story trope than like there's this guy that I think backstabbed my father, maybe, so I'm gonna kind of go try to solve his last case.
There's a bomb over here. I think this man over here from my dad's old case is responsible. There's no pie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, they could have tied Ricky Tan in a little bit tighter.
Yes, absolutely.
Jeez, I didn't know Paul was such a scholar. That's amazing.
Pay attention.
Well, now that we've paid attention to all the things we liked, all the things we didn't like, we've entered all our trajectories into the firing computer. Alice, do you have a firing solution for us?
Firing solution complete. Rating salvo at the ready. On your mark.
All right, guys. Do we rate Rush Hour 2 a classic? We'd recommend anyone go see it, whether or not they've seen it before. A nostalgic, it's worth your time to revisit if you saw it way back in your earlier days. It'd be fun to rewatch again. But if you've never seen it before, probably go check something else out. Or is it a tragic? We'd recommend no one go watch this. If you've never seen it before, keep it that way. And if you have seen it before, don't sully any good memories you have of it with a rewatch. So let's start with Brother Nate. What is your final rating for Rush Hour 2?
This one is actually kind of tough.
Okay, and you had predicted nostalgic. So, where did it end up after that?
So, like, the last Rush Hour, the first one, I predicted classic, definitely a classic. This one, I predicted nostalgic. It's better than nostalgic, but I don't know if it's as classic.
Okay.
Like it's not essential. Like, if somebody's like, I need to watch one of the Rush Hour movies, it's obviously the first one. Right?
Yes,
like,
absolutely,
you watch the first one kind of to Solomon's point. Even if you don't watch the other two, you kind of know some of the beats that the other two movies have. But this movie was a lot better on rewatch than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be funny. I thought it was going to, have some good fight scenes.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot more. And again, like those side characters, like Ricky Tan and Hu Lee and Isabella and
the chicken
Stephen
lady,
Raines, the chicken lady, Kung Fu Kenny, Don Cheadle. Oh my God, Kenny. I like the movie a lot more than I thought it would. So if there's such a thing as like a low classic, I'd give it a low classic.
It's nostalgically classic, apparently.
It's nostalgically classic.
I like that.
All right. So classic from Brother Nate. Solomon, how about for yourself? You had also predicted nostalgic. Where did you end up with this?
Yeah, so because I'm from California, I have to go with tragic. No, I'm kidding.
For sure, dude.
I only say that because of what Nate said. He's totally dead on. Like the jokes. Again, I wish we could go back to that time, but somebody who's like less than 20 years old is gonna watch it and be like, "Oh, I'm so offended."
Are you assuming I'm older than 20?
That's ageism.
Yeah. I'm clearly 19 plus 21.
They do say Tiger Style takes years off of your life.
There you go. There you go. Dang, I don't even know that style. Anyways, I still have to go with the nostalgic factor, just because, like, again, look, I want everybody to see this film, like, or any of the three, really. Because it like Nate said earlier, you know, it's a film made during its time. You know, they just had a different culture back then, a culture that I dare say resonate more. But considering with that being said, like, if you do take issue with those jokes and if you do take offense to it, like, I'm not here to judge. That's a valid point. So that's why I'd have to go with more nostalgic than anything.
That
else.
makes sense. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Paul, what reign makes the most sense to you?
So the first movie,
tragic. All right, that's weird.
No, the first Rush Hour movie got a unanimous classic rating, final rating from all of us. Yes. I would agree with that. And again, I didn't like this as much. So and I don't think it's one that everybody needs to go out and see. If you haven't seen Rush Hour, definitely, I echo what everyone says. See the first one. This one, if you haven't seen it, you're not missing anything by not watching it. But if you have enjoyed it, it's still, and like Brother Nate, I was surprised how much I liked it this rewatch again. So it is a fun rewatch if you liked it before, but it's not essential in my book.
So which is that, nostalgic or classic?
That's nostalgic because it's only for certain people.
All right.
Yeah. That's a really good breakdown. Now you make me want to change my answer, because if you've seen the first Rush Hour, if you've seen like all the movies, definitely go back and rewatch too.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody that hasn't, like, you could really stop with Rush Hour 1 and be good for the rest of your life.
Yep.
All right.
Paul being a scholar again.
So are you changing your reign? Because once I do mine, you can't go back.
Much like the password on Ricky Tan's nuke laptop. I don't know why. Again, like that laptop scene, just this little Ricky, I broke your laptop. Like, it's so disrespectful. But I'm gonna have to agree with Paul and Solomon, because I do think
nostalgic.
It resonates for, like, if you've seen it, it hits. If you haven't, it might not work for you.
Okay. All right.
Nate, I'll give you one with the DVD player too.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So last call for anyone change their reign to something else. Going once, going twice. All right. Here's my final reign, guys. I just enjoyed this movie. I had so much fun with it. So it's a classic for me. It's just like I predicted it to be. I remember this being one of those movies that me and Paul would like watch a lot. And I remember we were so excited when Rush Hour 3. Now, Rush Hour 3, I think, would be the one that probably would dip the most for me. I remember them being like the Eiffel Tower. I think they're in Paris.
I thought it was San Francisco. Well, we'll save that for
Who is Shashin, Paul?
But I probably remember the least about that one. But yeah, I had as much fun with this one. I really liked their characters and how they interacted. The jokes all landed for me. I was laughing. I was enjoying it. So classic for me. But according to the Retro Rewind podcast, we rate Rush Hour 2 a disputed nostalgic film. We'd recommend if you watched it in your earlier years, definitely go back, rewatch. You're gonna have fun. But if you haven't seen it before, probably go back and watch Rush Hour and then decide whether or not you'd want to continue. That'd probably be a good way to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But now it's time to get back to our own time. Good old 20XX.
20XX?
Comsat online. Receiving incoming transmission.
Feels good to be back, but we wouldn't have been able to travel back to 2001 to begin with if it weren't for our amazing reflux capacitors, namely Jared Holzhauer, Deborah Powers, Brian Keane, Patrick Hicks, Chris Cowan, Geek Devotions, The Untold Podcast, James Kennison, Driv the Cellcast, Ashley Cronenbitter, Pastor Dewson, Kenneth Thin, Redeemed Otaku, That's Our Baba, Josh Adams, D. Tungsten, Andy Lewis, Jeff, The Dapper Man Reviews, Tony from the Retro Days, Mr. Lost, Daryl Hafner, Rosie, in addition to 7 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you all so much for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to help keep us flying for as little as $1 a month and get bonus content for your generosity, or to just buy some merch of the Retro Rewind Podcast, head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to start.
This stream is sponsored by PaulJPowers.com.
And while we're thanking people, we also want to give a big international hug to say thanks to brother Nate Milton and Solomon K for supporting us with their thoughts on Rush Hour 2. So let's start alphabetically with B for brother Nate. Where can people find you online? And is there anything cool you got going on people should know about?
Yes, thanks for having me back, fellas. It feels like it's been too long.
I agree.
Done one of these episodes, so yes, I'm hoping it won't be too much longer before we can talk about
Spider-Man 3
in Frank. We got Spider-Man 3 and Rush Hour 3,
Yes,
so we got
do.
some big films to talk about, boys. But if you want to hear more from me, you can check me out. I'm in a lot of different places. One of my friends calls me the podcaster supreme because I'm in all these multiverses out here. Find me on Twitter at @8 MOZAIK at Nate Mosaic. My primary podcast is The Kings of Sport, which is a show that's been going on since 2013. Originally, it was myself and Marcus Vanderberg. He's now with ESPN. So now it's me and kind of a rotating cast of folks that want to talk about sports and pop culture. It's a lot of great fun over there. We do have a Patreon. So while you're supporting the Retro Rewind Podcast Patreon, just cross the street. You don't even have to get on a plane to Hong Kong. Just cross the street and go to patreon.com/The Kings of Sport. $5 gets you in the door for over 300 hours of content. Politics, sports, Marvel movies, wrestling, a lot of fun stuff over there. Speaking of wrestling, I'm on Post Wrestling. I have 2 shows on Post. The Rocky Maivia Picture Show, which is a movie review podcast that chronicles the work of Dwayne Johnson.
Nice.
So later this year, we're excited to talk about Black Adam, which is a big movie he's got coming out
Is that
this year.
related to Shazam? I'm still confused about this.
Yep.
A couple of months later, the next Shazam movie's coming out.
Okay.
So I'm excited. I'm excited for Black Adam and Rock finally jumping into a superhero film.
Yeah.
Even though some would argue the Fast and Furious are kind of like superhero films, but I'm not here to debate that. So I've got that on Post. I've also got the NWA podcast, which is the Nubian Wrestling Advocates, which is a show that looks at pro wrestling from the perspective of Black journalists, performers, media members, and fans. So, we've been doing that for about a year on Post, and people have been having a good time with the conversation and being respectful. And again, man, like it's all about, everybody getting a voice in these spaces and talking and having fun with it. The last thing I will promote, because I've got a lot of things to promote. I've got cheap suits too. If you need some, Solomon, they cheap as hell. Just cheap suits and chickens. I got those for sale on the side.
Nice.
But the last thing I'll promote is the DCTV Podcast Network, where I was one of the hosts of the Black Lightning podcast, but now I'm one of the hosts on the Lituation Room, which kind of looks at pop culture and the movies and TV shows. So for all of that, man, just look me up on Twitter at @8 MOZAIK. And again, Francisco and Paul, always a pleasure to link up with you guys. So
awesome.
Yes, let's get on this plane and head to New York and go watch let's go to Madison Square Garden.
Watch the Knicks play. Yes,
watch the Knicks play.
Maybe have a little move shoot.
All right, thank you. And
Solomon SK or Solomon K?
Yeah. So is it Solomon SK or is it Solomon K?
Actually, you know what? It's SK, but I've heard people say K too.
All right, Kay, how's it going? All right. All right, and Solomon SK, thank you. Where can people find you online? Or is there anything cool you got going on people should know?
I know this was mentioned earlier, but just really quick on the side.
Yeah.
Can we appreciate that we're talking about Rush Hour?
Yeah.
And you have an Asian man and a black man on your podcast.
Yeah.
I totally wish
you also have a half Mexican man and a Caucasian man. Wait, what? Did I just talk over your joke? I missed it. What did you say?
I said, and it's directed by a white guy, but then you called yourself Mexican.
That's right, Paul.
So what we're saying is, if there's a crime committed on this podcast, Paul is the guilty party because he's a rich white man.
Except I'm not rich, so follow the money.
Follow Follow the money.
I'll be your lawyer.
My
I'll need it.
Oh wait, no, I'm Isabella. That's who I am.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I like Snoopy.
Wow.
So,
But I enjoy the multiculture here.
Indeed.
Yes.
I think that's a great accident, right? No,
Well,
you can find me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, you can find me.
No,
at,
I'll keep talking over you, Solomon, because apparently I don't want you to get it worded in edgewise. Please go ahead, Solomon.
You can find me on YouTube. I haven't made any episodes recently, but things are falling into place where I'll be able to crank out more YouTube videos. But you can find me at Coffee and RPGs and Whiskey and RPGs. That's a second channel that I made not too long ago, and I just pretty much talk about video games. I'll do video game reviews, top 10 video games, mainly RPGs, but it doesn't always pertain to that as well. You can also find me on Twitch on Solomon_SK, and I do the Trinity MMO podcast with Sir Jaziel and Kennethan every Sundays. Although we won't be doing any episodes because Ken's doing a road trip and I got work and stuff like that, so we won't have any content until maybe in August. But yeah, that's our podcast that we do with other fellow believers as well, and we mainly talk about MMOs, and that's going to be every Saturdays at 7 Pacific. So,
and for those that may not know, what does MMO stand for?
Massively multiplayer online, and then you attach another like RPG game, first person shooter or whatever, I don't know. And so yeah, it's mainly just about online games. We primarily talk about online role playing games, but it doesn't always have to pertain to that because you got other games like
role playing games. I thought you were talking about massively multiplayer rocket propelled grenades. I was very confused.
I mean we did.
But no, awesome, Solomon. Thank you so much for you and Brother Nate being on the show. Thank you so much to my Super Bill, your co-host Paul. Appreciate you all so much. And thank you, awesome rewinders, new or old, for another fun voyage.
You're welcome. And you can find me, pauljpowers.com, at pauljpowers.com.
Whoa, it's like your URL is in the name. And you can find me on our Discord for show announcements or just to say hi. Join us there at retrorewindpodcast.com/Discord.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box, a curated collection of podcasts, videos, and articles that will provide you a balanced meal of content. You will find culture celebrated for its past and future, satirized for its extremes, explored in study, and created anew in story. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
Who's talking? That's
Wow.
Nathan. And as he just said, we are part of Culture Box Media Network. Find all our shows unpacking truth through story, comedy, and geekery at culturebox.media. And with that, Captain, we are on final approach to Madison Square Garden.
Thank you, EXO. And thank you all for listening. We pray you are more joyful today than when you first hit play. But like a Pokemon, we gotta catch you all for 51st dates, our next episode of the Retro Rewind Podcast.
I forgot about that one.
Retro Rewind mission complete. Proceed to nav point Omega and return to base.
I just can't believe you guys. You rated this amazing movie nostalgic. In fact, I'm going to get a bomb right now, and you're just going to go, ah!
He ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3.
I can't believe it tossed me out that window. Makes me think of that one time Jane Cobb tossed out that one guy from the plane in that one episode of Firefly. Janestown. I remember that episode fondly. In fact, I'd like to talk about it.
Ship like this, be with you to the day you die.
Retro.
Because it's a death trap.
The pod of rewind.
Pretty cunning, don't you think?
They were robbed of time, young indie made them poor. Burnt out on dullness, what was it all for? With Firefly now, what reviews will they find? The hero of time, Retro of Rewind.
We gotta go to the crappy town where I'm a hero.
And finally, Paul knows where that song comes from. See? Isn't it perfect? Isn't it perfect?
It's not. Oh, sorry, folks.
I know I'm a little pitchy at the beginning, but I get better as the song goes.
Those are high notes that in this episode he does not get that high. Like it's
I have a different range, so there you go. Anyway,
yeah.
Welcome, guys, to another installment of our review of Firefly as we make our way to the movie Serenity, which will be our Christmas episode this year. But we are watching every month. We try to watch an episode of Firefly. Working up toward that. Paul, what is the episode this time that we're going to be reviewing?
This time, it's the one you've been waiting for, episode 7, called Jamestown. It was first
Jamestown.
Sorry,
not Jamestown.
Jane, not Jamestown. Jane. You know, like in Jetsons, his wife named Jane.
Yeah, the same, exactly.
Anyway, it was this episode first aired in October 18th, 2002. Do you want to give us a one-sentence recap of this episode plot-wise?
Yes. The crew of Serenity comes to a planet to do a deal. Turns out the crewmate Jane is a hero, local folk hero of the town that they're trying to get this cargo from, and that causes an issue. A moral conflict is because he wasn't really a hero, even though he became one to the townspeople.
Okay.
I love my captain.
Thank you, Kaylee. So let's go, and so it's just gonna be me and Paul this time. Brother Nate and Solomon had to jet, but we will give our likes and dislikes of this episode. Paul, why don't you kick us off? What's something you liked about this? And we can do a couple if you have more than one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I only came with one each in my revolver. So
fine.
You can do a couple, but
all right.
The thing that I like most about this episode was at the very end, the last scene, Jane is recounting how the person sacrificed their life for him so that he could live.
Mm-hmm.
And in the background is the ballad of Jane.
The hero of Canton, yeah.
Yes, but it's playing in a lower key, and it's by like guitar. It's very
acoustic, it's very somber.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And has a nice tone and touch.
Mm-hmm.
It helps pull the heartstrings at that moment. I thought it was really well done to have that music the way they did it right there.
Absolutely. Okay, a couple of things I liked, and you feel free to jump on any of these if they resonate with you.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. I like that the idea of this man that is no one would think to be a hero. He's always out for himself, just out of a misunderstanding becomes the hero. I imagine that's happened in stories. I just can't think of one off the top of my head. But I just thought that was a really interesting idea, and that it almost causes Jane to want to live into that. Like at first he's like really taken aback by it, but then after he thinks about it, he's like, maybe I want to be the hero to these people, and I don't want to take advantage.
Take advantage of all their free stuff they were giving him.
He did at first, but by the end he's saying to Mal that I don't think it's right that we're using my fame to sort of hoodwink these people or what have you. And I thought that you could definitely see character growth in the end, that he's like really struggling, that this kid got in the way of him dying just so that he would live, even though he isn't really worth, he's not the hero that they think they are. Like if they really knew why they got all the money, they probably wouldn't be taking a bullet for him. But I like that he had to struggle with that and actually think about that. I don't know if that comes up so much in later episodes, like this character moment for him. At least there's no clear reference to it that makes me think, oh, this is what he learned from that. So that's a little sad. Even in the movie, I don't think you really have that. But I really like that. I really love the song. I think that's so cool that there's a whole song that we get to hear in this.
Every episode we review, we get to hear a rendition of it.
Yep. I also, man, could Kaylee and Simon just get to a point? I know that once they're in a relationship, you lose some of the drama of that will they, won't they? But they get so close, and then Simon's just like, with Kaylee, no. Oh, wait, that's more dislikes. Never mind.
I was about to say, I'll have more to say on that later.
Okay. But I think that's the, yeah, I have a couple of dislikes now that I think about it. But I do like those elements. I mean, I always just love the crew. I love the treatment. It wasn't perfect, but the treatment of the Bible and how faith, it's not about you fixing the Bible, but that the Bible and faith fix you. I think that was actually pretty legit. So I enjoyed that aspect of it.
Again, I'm going to have to disagree.
All right. Tell me why you disagree and go into your disagreements with this episode, Paul.
Let's go into the disagreements. Okay. Or the things that I didn't like about this episode. Yes. Are you ready? Yeah. I may have only had one like, but hold on. Buckle your seatbelts, folks.
Do you need a 5-point harness for this?
You need more than 5 for this. Let's see. It starts off with Kaylee trying to convince somebody it's all right to swear, which is going to go against me because I don't think it's so. But then once Simon, the person who she had an interest and then has not only has insulted her likes and her advances towards him. Then he gets hit, and I complimented her on one of the previous episodes. In fact, she was one of my favorite. She was my favorite characters for realizing what a jerk he was, and realizing that's probably not for her. She does a total 180. As soon as he gets hit in the mouth or something, she leans down and calls him honey and picks him up and is like all caring towards him. She regresses in a way that I think is just not good towards her character.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. I think Mal is being an idiot for waiting till noon the next day to sneak cargo when it's nighttime that night. They could sneak cargo that very night.
They don't know where it is. They can't see its camouflage pretty well.
No, they have the time. Oh, you know what? Let's instead, here's something else. You bring certain people, you have a job to do. Let's, we can't find the cargo we're supposed to pick up. Let's all go get drunk on a mission. This is not a layaway mission. This is not vacation time. It's not the time to go get drunk. And yet you have Kaylee and the doctor and all these people.
They're trying to fit
getting
in.
Drunk. No, they are not on shore leave. They are here for a mission.
All right.
This is not.
That's fair.
And Jane is being an idiot for yelling at his adoring fans and not being grateful. And then let's see. Trying to get an adult to lose his virginity is one of the key plot points in here.
Oh, yeah. I'm in agreement with you on this. Yes.
And all that is just the payoff for that is so that this guy who loses his virginity can basically step into his own and escape this made up thing that they call landlocking the ship out of convenience to make the story worth it. So it's all contrived, it's all made up and not worth it, in my opinion.
All right.
River saying that the Bible is wrong, and then going back to what you said about the Rev saying, well, it's not about wrong, it's about faith. Well, that's great. You can have faith in any fairy tale. It doesn't.
But the context is the Bible.
The context. No, he says it's not about the Bible being. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about faith. So it's throwing the Bible away and putting all the trust in faith, which is based.
You're
rewatch the scene.
I'm going to play the scene for you just to prove you wrong right now. Here we go. You will all see in real time as YouTube and Twitch shuts me down for copyright, but so that I can prove Paul wrong. Here we go. Hold on, I need to find the part. Yes, okay. After the Earth is used up. Okay, yes.
Okay, what for that copyright?
Oh wait, are you?
That was me. I was just trying to get something to kill the time. I was going to play the theme song, but that might get us kicked off. I don't know. Well, we're reviewing it, so let's play it.
There you go.
It's fair use because we're reviewing.
My land, take me where I cannot stand. I don't care. I'm still free. You can't take the sky from me.
All right, I don't have the whole theme song yet. The tip.
You don't? Take me out to the black. Tell them I ain't coming back. Burn the land and bore the sea. You can't take the sky from me. Okay, so I found the part it's going to be more than what we were thinking. I mean, I had to start a little sooner just because I'm not going to like be able to finagle it that easily. But let me share my screen here. Just you wait, Paul. Just you wait.
Well, my interpretation. I will say this.
You're like, you know what, Francisco?
Interpretations that differ. My interpretation is it's not about being right or wrong. It's about faith. Well, right or wrong is based on God. He determines what's right or wrong. So he's saying it's not about God. It's about having faith in something that makes you a better person.
All right, this isn't going to show it because they have some like have a landlocked type thing, but I can share my audio. So this should play even though you won't be able to see it, and I'll share my screen even though you won't be able to see it. At least I don't think you'll be able to. So I'm playing it. Thumbs up if you can hear this, Paul.
11 times, but always comes out 1.
Okay. So
Noah's Ark is a problem.
Reverse Takusa.
We'll have to call it early quantum state phenomenon. Only way to fit 5,000 species of mammal on the same boat.
She tears out a page of the Bible.
Give me that.
He takes the Bible.
Maybe you don't fix the Bible.
Don't fix the Bible.
It's broken. It doesn't make sense.
It's not about making sense.
It being the Bible.
It's about believing in something.
Okay.
And letting that belief be real enough to change your life. It's about faith.
It being the Bible.
You don't fix faith.
It's about anything.
No, he went with something, but then he went back to it, which the subject was the Bible before.
It's about faith.
Yeah, it being the Bible. No. It is a stand-in word for the Bible.
Let's agree to disagree.
All right, fine.
I'm glad it was all worth it.
That was totally worth it. I agree. It was completely worth it. Okay.
But that wasn't the thing that I hated most.
Okay, what did you hate? Actually, let me go with the thing I hated most before you get there.
That wasn't the thing I hated most.
Okay. Well, the thing I hated most was really just like you, it's the thing you mentioned before, this whole concept. And I get that they're trying to show these people as sort of backward, or the father of the magistrate of this land being just like really sort of despicable, that he can't stand that his son hasn't had sex, and that's a really sad state to be in, and that's what makes you a man. But I don't like so I don't like the sense that his son, he sleeps with Anara, who's a companion, sort of like a geisha or high-end prostitute, you could say. So they sleep together, and then she's the one that tells him that that's not what makes you a man, is being with someone, which is true, but I just wish he learned that from some other from somewhere else, and him being disobedient to his dad doesn't make him a man either, because that's what he ends up doing. As, I guess I'm a man now. You want me to be a man. Well, that's not it either. So you're wrong on all the fronts. Yeah. Go ask Shepherd Book and have him tell Paul that he's talking about the Bible. Okay.
Knowing the writers of the show, I would disagree.
Yes, of course. What was your
my tragic maker for this episode? Okay, for those people who haven't seen it in a while, like 4 years or so ago, Jane visits this planet, and he has a partner, and his forgotten partner's name,
Stitch Higgins, something like that.
No, Higgins is the magistrate's name.
Okay.
Stitch. Stitch is
Stitch. I'll look it up, but
no, it's Stitch. Okay,
Stitch. We'll go Stitch. Yeah.
No. Anyway, Stitch.
I'll look it up.
So Jane and Stitch are partners when they come to this town on this planet. They basically steal the money from the magistrate, all his gold and such, and they're about to leave, but their ship's too heavy. So he dumps, in order to get away in time, because the local authorities are after him, he dumps the money on on the public town square. Mm-hmm. And with that money is his partner, Stitch, that goes down with it.
And is Stitch Hessian? Hessian? Hessian?
Anyway,
Stitch,
we'll call him
whatever.
Stitch, not
Stitch,
Lilo, but anyway. So the people think that Jane's a hero for dumping all the money on him, and the magistrate of the town locks Stitch up for 4 years into this wooden box for 4 years. So we get to a point where Jane comes back with the Firefly crew, and the magistrate and like the jailer let Stitch out of this wooden box.
Oh no, this is right. Oh no, this is a horrible thing. Yes. Okay. I'm curious where you're going with this, but yes.
Okay.
I'm. Yes.
And then they say, hey, your buddy Jane is here. Here's a loaded gun. Okay.
Exactly.
And he's like, and Stitch is like, why'd you give me a loaded gun? And he's like, well, remember, we didn't put you in this box. And for me, if I was Stitch, I would have taken that loaded gun and blow the magistrate and the jailer away because Jane did not put him in that box. Those people did. Now, Jane dumped him, and I would later go on maybe, confront Jane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Those two would have been shot right there.
Right? Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
I totally agree.
I know this may sound weird if you've never seen the episode. Like, why is that okay? Okay, it doesn't make sense. But there has been such a buildup through the episode that when it gets to this point, you're like, what?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because it's like, no, yeah, exactly. I imagine this person being put in this box by these same people.
Yeah.
For 4 years. That's going to embed something that I hate. That you may also hate Jane. That's fine.
Yeah.
I totally get that. But yeah, you're totally going to blow away these people too. It doesn't make.
And by saying, "Oh, we didn't put you in the box," you literally did.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not. They don't. I think they overestimate the psychological impact they have on this person. I mean, they wouldn't have that on me. It sounds like not on you either. So if I was going to kill people, they would be on the menu for that. So.
Right.
Okay. Awesome. Well. Let's go real quick. What character did you connect with the most in this episode?
This episode, I didn't connect with any characters.
Okay. I connected with, probably, I want to say Shepard. I know we're in disagreement about that, but I appreciate his character.
And it's obvious she's running away from his hair.
Yeah, that is too. That was weird, but I'm talking about before that.
Even still, it makes me not like the character more.
Fine. Okay. And then watching this episode, would you continue watching Firefly after this?
So for me, because of all those, this is the first episode that I didn't like because every scene really? There was, like I mentioned, it was like, this is all wrong.
Okay.
So I did not enjoy this episode. Based on this episode, I would not watch this series anymore.
Really? Wow. Okay. I'd say plot-wise, this was a weaker one, but I liked the elements of it. So it's a weird.
I like the song, so I'm gonna give it a pass.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I'll say this is on probably the lower tier of the episodes.
Which is too bad. Because it has a good premise, but the execution of it all is just completely wrong.
Not good for you. All right.
No.
That's fair. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to this. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time. Keep flying.
Good night.
Don't let the space bugs bite.